Good afternoon. If you like Italian food, this might very well be your video. That is because I will not be doing one recipe, I will not be doing two recipes, but I will be doing 3 in 1. I will be sharing with you what I eat rather than just cooking one dish, which is something I try to do when I can. And I will be doing some Italian style fish fingers with some Italian style chunky chips and Italian style flappy aubergine, but I'll show you what I mean. This recipe will be good enough most probably for 2 to 3 people, but also children love it and adults love it, your friends would love it, everybody love it. Anyway, I'll start by peeling a potato. I mentioned chunky chips, so I'll cut it into chunky slices, maybe just under a couple of centimeters each slice. And here they are, some nice and chunky pieces of potato. Cold water, always use cold water, and I'll cover them all the way, and I'll leave approximately 1 centimeter from the top. And I'll put them on the hob, and once they start boiling, I'll leave them to blanch for about 4 to 5 minutes max. Aubergine next. This is medium in size. I'll cut it in half all the way, and I'll put each half flat on my board. And going in with a knife, and I'll slice it similar size thickness to the potatoes. And this is what I mean by flappy aubergines. I'll move them onto a plate, and I'll put a little salt so that they start releasing some of the water, and I'll move them on one side. I made this recipe last week and I used salmon. Today I will be using sea bass, but also you can use cod or any fish you like, but make sure that it's fish that you can slice in the shape of fish fingers, of course. But this has still got the skin, so let's remove that first. So sharp knife, locate an area where you can get hold of the skin like this, and I'll place my knife flush against the board. Make sure that it's got a bendy blade. I will put my finger here to hold the skin, and I'll gently start slicing it. My potatoes start boiling, so I'll turn them down, and I'll leave them to blanch now for 4 minutes, as I said earlier, and I'll carry on. By the way, if you can hear noises, people talking, it's not your neighbor, it's Julie. She's got a friend around, and they are gassing away next door, fixing the world. So that's why I'm actually doing the video by myself. I've also realized, by the way, that by turning the fish, you can also pull the skin in this particular case, which might be easier for you. Look, very, very dead easy. And just like I did with the aubergine, I'll sprinkle a little salt on top of my fish, and I'll put it on one side for 10 minutes. A good thing about this recipe is that although there are 3 different recipes, they will all be sharing the same marinade. And I'll start with some flour by putting 3 dessert spoons in a bowl, and I'll season it with a little salt and some pepper, and I'll mix everything together. Eggs next, and I will be purposely quite generous with eggs and breadcrumbs because I always like to make a little omelette at the end. I'll show you once I make it, but try and avoid having the shell in them. And I'll give them a gentle whisk, but I will not be adding anything to the eggs. I mentioned breadcrumbs, and I will be combining them with some flavorful herbs, and I will be using parsley and sage. They go very, very well with fish, but also they go very, very well with the aubergine and clearly with the chips I'll be making. But if you go different preferences or choices, entirely up to you, but this combination is really, really good. So if you can get hold of fresh parsley and fresh sage, top notch. Anyway, I've got about 4 or 5 little leaves of sage and a good handful of parsley there. But I will be chopping this very, very finely, so do ensure you do that if you use the fresh stuff. And that can go in a separate plate. And I'll start with 4 dessert spoons of breadcrumbs. Actually, I think 5 must probably be good enough as well if I want to make a little omelette later. Followed by 3 dessert spoons of grated Parmesan cheese, or you can also use grana, or indeed you can use pecorino. If you use grated pecorino, don't use 2 because it's a lot stronger. I will only be adding pepper to this because the cheese is quite salty, so I don't want to add any more salt. And you will see that as soon as you start mixing it, the flavor from all of the ingredients will hit you immediately, like it's doing with me now. That should be enough, but if I need to make more, of course I will let you know. And I think, unless I missed anything, I'm ready to start putting everything together. And I'll start with the aubergines. So I will pick them up and dip them in my flour mix, and I will try and cover them as much as I can. And because I put salt, they've been sweating water, so they're nice and moist as well. That's one. Let's do the other one now. And that is number 2. And I'll move this out of the way for a moment. Potatoes next. After 4 minutes of blanching, I have drained them and added cold water so that they will not cook anymore, so they are lukewarm now. But what I'll do next, I'll place the lid on and I'll give them a very vigorous shake, almost like damaging them on purpose, so that they become all very fluffy, just like this, so that they have got a little bit of fluff on the top. But with the potatoes, I'll skip the flour and I'll go straight in the egg, and I'll put them in. And I'm now ensuring that I mix them well so that they are properly covered by egg. Breadcrumbs, and I'll pick them one by one, shake any egg left over, and I'll place them on top of my breadcrumbs. And very simply, just turn them around or sprinkle them, whatever you find easy, so that the entire surface is covered by breadcrumbs. Inevitably, you will always end up with dirty hands, but that's what cooking is about sometimes. So I have a tray lined up with some baking paper, and I'll position my potatoes inside it, and I'll make sure that I leave adequate space for my aubergine in a moment. So I'll move the breadcrumbs out of the way and bring the egg back in, and I'll do the same now with the aubergines. So I'll dip them in the egg, and I'll do the same with the second half of my aubergine. Breadcrumbs come back, and you guessed it, the egg on top. And as I often say, I find these jobs more gratifying by using my hands, but of course you can use a spoon or a fork if you wish. And I'll do exactly the same with the second half of the aubergine. And you will have spotted that I have run out of my breadcrumb mix, so I'll do some more, but I will update obviously the ingredients in the description as always. But I've got enough clearly to finish my aubergines, and I will add them now to the tray with my potatoes. 1 and 2. I'm now sprinkling a little olive oil on top of everything, including my potatoes. I've just turned the oven on and I'll wait until it gets to a nice hot temperature, approximately 180 to 200 degrees. I'll pop them in for about 20 to 25 minutes, and halfway through I will turn everything around so that I get a lovely golden crusty color all over, and in the meantime I'll crack on with the fish. Back to my fish. Has been sitting there for a good 10 to 15 minutes now, and I'm ready to slice it. What I'm gonna do here, I'll chop each piece in half like this, and I'll make some fish fingers by chopping it in half again. That's one, that's another one, and that's another one. Get my flour back on my worktop, and I will add all of my fish now. By the way, I left the fish for last for 2 reasons. Number one, because it will not need to cook as long as the other ingredients. But the second reason is because some of you might not like fish, but you like aubergines and you like chips. So the ingredients I'm going to be mixing it with clearly will inherit the flavor of fish. By doing it last, no problem at all, okay? Like I did with the other ingredients, I'll cover my fish with flour, and using my hands I'll roll it so that it gets a nice round and uniform shape, and I'll repeat it with all of them. What this does effectively, it helps by removing any of the fluffy bits which could then burn in the oven, but also it will help me removing all of the excess flour. Wonderful. Egg, in the egg they go, and mix them all together, and if they make the same lovely noise as this, you're on the right track. Breadcrumb one more time, and you guessed it, in they go. Try and remove as much as possible of the egg before they go in, although it's not that important because I'll be making an omelette soon, and mix everything together. Separate tray for 3 reasons. I haven't got enough space in the other one, but also they will not require as long as to cook, but also I'm going to be adding the omelette in a moment. And talking of which, here it comes. There's a little bit of fish which I'm going to leave in there, and I'll put all of my breadcrumbs in my egg and mix it all together, and I think I will add another egg to it, just like this. Ironically, when I used to do this and the children were little, the egg omelette is what they all used to fight for. Amazing. A little bit more breadcrumbs to enhance the consistency, and I think it looks good enough now. So here is my baking tray, and very simply I'll pour my omelette mix on top of my baking paper, and Julie and I will have to fight over it. And they're ready to go in the oven, and they will cook for about 15 minutes, same temperature as everything else, but I will time this so that they finish cooking together. And halfway through I will turn the fish around so that it gets golden all over. So I'll see you when I'm ready. Bye. Ooh, yeah. You're there already? Okay, everything is cooked, and I'm now removing them from the oven. Still steaming hot, of course. So, they look nice.
They do look lovely.
Now let me give you some refreshed times. So omelette is done and dusted, and I removed it after 10 minutes. Don't need to be there for very long, and if you look, it's lovely and brown at the bottom as well. Came up very easily because I used the baking paper. But I don't think we're gonna be eating this tonight.
I don't know about that. It does smell lovely.
Yeah, you wait until you see the rest. But you can eat it cold. I'll put it likely to be in the fridge anyway overnight, and then you can snack over lunch or whatever you like. You can put it in a sandwich as well with some tomato sauce. Or, oh God, I'm getting angry thinking about it. Anyway, let's move on. So refresh times. The fish cooked for a total of 18 minutes, and as I mentioned before, I turned it halfway through. And the potatoes and the aubergines a total of 30 minutes. So I turn them around after 15 because I want them to be lovely and brown. But they would have been okay after 15 as well, after 25. So let's serve now and see what it looks like. And by the way, Julie decided that it wasn't enough, so she's made
I thought everything was a little bit beige.
a little Mediterranean salad. What have you to put in here, Julie? Got olives, tomatoes,
Olives, tomatoes, and there's some sun-dried tomatoes too.
And then what?
Olive oil, need you ask, salt and pepper.
Wonderful.
Keep it simple.
Okay. So if you want to impress yourself or your guests, you can use one of these.
What? We think we're in a pub, do we? We're in a UK pub.
And I think it's going to
They do
look
like a slate. They like a
really
slate
lovely
in the UK
with
pub.
the aubergine. Look at this. I call those, by the way, Julie, fluffy aubergines because of the
Remind me of Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll move it here, look, so that it's just out of the...
Very impressive.
Now, we're not in a pub. We are in Tortellino's kitchen, which is better than a pub because it's all home cooked.
Getting more creative, look.
There you go, look.
Lovely.
And I'll do a very similar arrangement with my chunky Mediterranean chips. Perfect. And as Julie made a salad, might just
I
as
went
well.
to so much effort to make
Yes.
this salad.
You're
My
so
contribution,
good.
everybody. Don't underestimate my contribution.
Well, there you go. But you made the Christmas cake.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I should have said, by the way, the fish, before I put it in the oven, I sprinkled with a little olive oil, just like I did with the vegetables, so that I crispened up lovely. And if you look, you can see that it's got a lovely golden and crusty color. And I'll test everything tonight. So I'll start with the aubergine. Delicious and crunchy. You must be able to hear the
I
crunchiness
can
of
hear
it.
it, yeah.
Really nice. Aubergines done in breadcrumbs like this, they are healthier because they're not fried and delicious. So children will definitely love it, especially their shape. Oh, potatoes are nice and crunchy too.
I know, I'm so hungry watching this food.
They remind me of something that my mum used to cook when I was little, because yeah, when you're little you try not to eat things, and she would mix them with herbs and eggs, and it's lovely and delicious, but it will need a little salt, which I will add afterwards, but it's really nice. And I'll go up now for, you don't mind if I don't taste your salad, Julie? I'll go for the homemade fish finger, which is the Pierre's Resistance. Oh, really much more superior than any fish fingers you can buy. It's delicious, honestly. I keep using the word delicious, so you must be getting tired of it, but it's really lovely. You can also add some tartar sauce if you want, or tomato sauce.
Yeah.
I will not, because
I will add a little tartar sauce.
taste
I
as
like
it
tartar
is.
sauce.
I know you do, but genuinely a really delicious meal. And as I said, children will love it. I'll put this in my young playlist, but old playlist, any playlist would be lovely. Thank you for watching. Try it, you will really enjoy, or even if you do some of them, and let me know how you get on. Arrivederci, buon appetito, and ciao for now.